Camera responded back relatively quick.
Did he? I don't know.
I'd like to call this Records Commission meeting to order at 3 p.m.
Ms. Dillon?
Here.
Mr. Burchett? Here. Ms. Perry?
Here?
Mr. Davis?
Here. Next up, we have the approval of the minutes. This would be the Records Commission minutes of November 6th, 2024. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes? Is there a second?
A second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is business. First up is the RC2 review. I believe that goes to the law director.
Yes, so I think we talked about this at the last meeting. We had some RC2s that we were attempting to confirm were actually sent to the Ohio History Connection in August of last year, and Ms. Wallace actually did a great job of hunting those down, found them, sent them to me. So I went through the RC2 binder that she gave me at the last meeting and matched them up with what we had. And long story short, we have all of those RC3s that were signed in August of last year were signed off by both the Ohio Historical Society and the Auditor of State, and we have timestamp RC2s for all of those that were signed last year. So I gave that binder back to Ms. Wallace for safekeeping, obviously. So the good news is we were able to locate all those, and those are now where they should be. And it looks like from further review, there are only a handful of other departments that have signed RC2s that are older than 2023, but within a few years. Like I think one's dated 18. I think the oldest may be Fire, and that's dated 2015. So those department heads might want to at some time look at their RC2s to see if they think they need to be updated, and if so, then they can bring updated RC2s to a future Records Commission meeting so that we can approve those and get those sent up to the state for approval. But right now, from what I saw, it appears like everything is good for the RC2s.
Okay. Any additional comments on that review? Next item on the agenda is Records Retention Policy Manual Review.
So I believe we discussed that also at the last meeting. Hand those down to you. What I've got circulating now while he's passing those down is if you just take one. There's actually, take the first two. Yeah.
Okay.
So what that should be is a copy of the city's current records manual. And it's notated on the first page at the bottom. It says approved by the Records Commission on June 10 of 2020. I think this has been in effect for quite a while, though, from my recollection. So what I did after the last meeting was to look at at the Ohio History Connection, because they have a lot of helpful information on their website. And one thing they had on there is the second document, which I've provided to you, which is the Local Government Records Manual. And that basically does a really good job of explaining the records retention process, the different RC2 forms that are required. Towards the end, it gets into electronic, email, social media, cloud. So it appears to be pretty up to date. My thinking was that, and I don't think we have to make a decision on this today, but my thinking was that we could, the commission could take both of these documents and take some time to review them, schedule a Records Commission meeting in the future, and then see if what we wanted to do was adopt the Local Government Records Manual from the Ohio History Connection as the city's records manual, because I think it is more helpful than what we currently have, quite honestly. And I like the fact it came from the Historical Connection, because obviously they are the gatekeepers with respect to these documents, so they're very good at assisting with us. They do say, I think this is on page 28, because I know we were talking about the RC3 process at the last meeting, and what they're saying here, again, is what we discussed at the last meeting, is that if a record series, meaning the RC2, does not require that an RC3 form be executed prior to disposable, then it says to please document the disposal internally. It is the decision of the local records commission if they want to be notified before disposal. If a record series does not require an RC3 form prior to disposal per the state archives LGRP, contact your local records commission regarding if they request to review the disposal. Now, remember we talked about that last time, that even if an RC3 is not required pursuant to the law, it's probably a very good idea to still go ahead and have an RC3 prepared and forwarded to the Records Commission, just so that we do have a record of the documents that were actually destroyed if somebody were to later question that. So I think maybe one way we could make the department heads, who are, I understand, the Records Commission keepers for their department, aware of that, is if we decide to approve this new records manual at a future meeting, what I could do is send out a copy of the manual by email, also with an explanation about that RC3, because that can get a little confusing, and basically make sure that all the department's heads are aware that even though it may not legally be required in some instances, the Records Commission still wants to see an RC3 before we destroy documents to make sure we're protecting the city as best we can. So that's what I have on that. If anybody has questions, I'll do my best to answer that, but I thought it might be a good idea just to, like I said, take some time to digest these two and see if we want to go the next step of voting to authorize this local government records manual as the city's records manual at one of the future meetings.
Martina, is it commonplace that most local governments do end up adopting?
I don't know how
File history
commonplace it is. I
connection?
believe Clayton did it, because I'm on their records commission as well, so I believe this is what they use as well. I'd have to look around and see if any of the others do.
And
And of course, I'm not married to that idea. If somebody just says, hey, why don't we just take the current records manual? Because I know there are some dates and deadlines for, submitting RC2s, 3s, and 1s in the current manual. So if the consensus is, hey, we like the current records manual, but why don't we just update it with some of the stuff from the Historical Society, I can do that as well. I just didn't want to start working on one or the other without giving input from the Records Commission as to which way they think they might want to go.
I like the Ohio History Connection Manual. Obviously, we need more time. I guess
Yeah.
it says 2017. What if they were to revise or adopt one, say, next year? We would then want to follow suit and do the same?
Yeah, we want to follow suit and do that. This is their most recent. So I don't believe their habit is to update them very often, like, every year or so. But they do update them, of course, I'm sure. But yeah, at that point, what I would do is probably adopt the most recent one if we go that route. But like I said, if the consensus comes back that, hey, we really like the way our current one is, and we'd like to keep that just with some updates, then of course that's fine too. I could just work the updates into the current one.
I think they have new stuff on COVID. I think they just came out with COVID.
I think you're right, yep. And I'm not sure if that's included in here. I don't remember reading anything about that. I remember the cloud, but I don't remember seeing COVID in here, so that may be something else we might want to look at.
Are there any other questions or comments regarding the Records Retention Policy Manual?
I do like how it explains what you're supposed to do with the record as it transfers media type from paper to electronic. I don't know that we have it spelled out anywhere, and I think that that's kind of confusing on our end. So there are things in here that I think
Yeah.
that are good.
It would be helpful to include in whatever form we decide to put it in.
Just keeping this and just adding updates and that.
That's
That's
fine,
what-
or if the rest of the commission wants to take these home and review them, it doesn't matter to me. Whatever anybody would like to discuss or make a suggestion. Yeah,
Yep. There are no other questions. We will move on to the third item of business, the RC1 and RC3 review for destruction.
And it looks like, so I'm going to ask a few questions. It looks like there's at least one RC1 and some RC3s in here that those are being presented for us to review and approve so that those can get sent up to the state. Is that correct, Kim?
Yes.
Okay. And the only thing, I reviewed those and they looked in order to me. Of course, if the RC1 gets approved today, then Mike, as the chairman, will have to sign off on that portion of the RC1, of course, before that gets sent up. The only other thing I noticed was on the RC3s that the clerk of court submitted. If you, which I'm looking at in the packet, starting at page 84, if you look at the RC31, it's for the clerk of court, but then at the bottom it says signature of responsible official, title it says clerk of council. So I think maybe on those RC3s, and I think there were maybe 3 of them that were submitted by the clerk of court, I think that clerk of council designation needs to be changed to clerk of court so Susan can sign off as the clerk of court on that RC3. Other than that, I didn't see an issue with those.
Case because Amy's supposed to be she was the head of all documents, records retention. I know I changed ours to Mike's name.
Yeah, because I saw that on the city managers, Mike signed off, of course, because he's the head of that department. I would suggest, though, that those clerk of courts wouldn't be signed off by Susie. And the title, of course, changed to clerk of court on there. Because I believe that's, when it says signature of responsible official, I think they're wanting the official responsible for that particular department. Is how I'm reading that.
One, Mike would sign section B.
Yeah, on the RC1, where it says Records Commission, let me get back to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike, since he's a chairperson, would sign off under Section B.
Okay.
Yeah, that Section B needs to be filled out with his information and his signature there. And then right under, or right above where Mike signs, it says to have this form returned to the Records Commission electronically, include an email address. I would put in an email address there, of course, so we can get a copy back. But other than that, I didn't see any issues, so I think probably we want to take a vote on approving the RC1s and RC3s to send those up.
There's
Should I
no-
do them both at the same time, or should I do RC1 separate from the RC3s?
I would do them separate. I don't know how that is. If you're doing it electronically, I don't know how the Ohio Historical Society has that set up on their email. You might want to call and just ask them. That might avoid a headache.
Are there any other questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the RC1 and RC3s for destruction?
I'll move it for approval.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 The last item we have is other business. Is there any other business to discuss?
So the only question that we were kind of talking about earlier was setting an actual destruction date. Do you guys need to do that, or is that just done within the clerk?
You can do that within the clerk. Like I said, for the RC1
Yeah, we're not-
procedure, yeah, you probably
Yeah.
won't have that back in time because like I said, just for the record, the Ohio Historical Commission has 60 days to review it, and then they send it up to the auditor, and the auditor has another 60 days to review that RC1, so you have to wait until you get that fully signed back before you destroy anything that's on an RC1. With respect to the RC3,
15 days.
15 days. You have to send it up and then wait at least 15 days before you destroy it. Like I said, I would suggest when that 15 days is up, contact the Historical Society and see if you can get a copy of it back to show that they've time-stamped it, they've got it, and then go forward. But yeah, you can, the commission doesn't have to
Okay,
approve the
just
the date.
checking.
Yeah, yeah. The other question I wanted to follow up when I was looking at this is, I gave the RC2 binder back to Kim with all of the fully executed RC2s, and per the law, we're required to maintain copies of those current RC2s at a, quote, location readily available to the public. So is that binder, or are those organized somewhere else so if the public wants to review it, they can?
Office.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure. I mean, I don't know if anybody will come in and ask to see your RC2s, but if they do, I just want to make sure they were all together so that we can hand it to them and say, here they are.
Yeah, they definitely will be from now on.
Yeah, okay.
so.
That's all I had.
Should we schedule another meeting before we have, schedule a meeting for the RC2s to be renewed next year? So that way we have a new manual?
That's what I was going to do. I think it's probably good. I don't know how long you want to take to review the records manual information. If you want to schedule a meeting, I don't know, before the end of the year to decide what we want to do on that.
That's what I was going to ask you. Is there a preference to have
Can we,
it done
can we
before
wait, honestly?
Say that again?
Can we wait until January?
We could wait. It would be best to have it done as soon as possible, but I mean, we could wait until January.
I'm just
I think
thinking with the
we're
move.
with our move.
Yeah, it's going to be,
That's part of the challenge.
yeah,
This is going to be shut down for a while.
Yeah.
It's getting relocated.
yeah. So maybe we could pick a date in January to reconvene. And then from that point forward, once we get back on the, I know we've had a couple of meetings here in the last week, but typically, you only meet like once every 6 months. So I would say, once you have that one meeting and you want to schedule the next one 6 months out, I would say just go ahead and schedule it at that meeting. Say, hey, now 6 months from now is this date, so let's go ahead and put that on the calendar.
And then we'd
so
be
it gets
done for the
scheduled.
year? That would
And then
the
we'd be
two
done
of
for the
you.
year, yeah, because you need at least, like I said, one every 6 months. So,
Is there a need for any sort of staff training at all?
I was thinking about that as I was looking through this. I don't think it would be a bad idea with the move and everything. I don't know when that would be a good idea for you guys. So I do think it is a good idea, yes.
We kind of, I think, casually talked about maybe if the thing was broken down by quarters, right? Like if you had the RC3 destruction now, and then in the spring you have the RC2, in the 3 months in between that window, maybe do a staff review or a training or some sort to kind of make sure that we're all on the same page. So that gives them 3 months to make sure that they got all the stuff ready for the next meeting.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I thought I had saw on the Historical Society where they offer training, and it's videoed.
I'm sure they probably do, and that would probably be the best way to do it.
It was training of what, Kim? I didn't hear last.
Of the records retention via video. So you
Video.
could log in, take the training, get a certificate, and it was multiple dates. I mean, it was at least 2 a month.
That might be the same, I don't know if that's the same training that they mandate that the elected officials or their designee take. I know they mandate, which is why, another thing I wanted to make sure we had for the record, Kim did find Amy's certificate of completion of that 3-hour course on behalf of the elected officials from 2022. And then I know we talked about last time, as soon as a new clerk is appointed, having that clerk redo that 3-hour training to make sure that base is covered as well. That may be the same training. I don't know if it is or not.
I don't know, but I remember seeing
Yeah.
something like that.
That would be the
so-
best thing to do.
I mean, when I call them to ask for the proof that they got the RC3s, I can ask them at that time
Yep,
if they offer some kind of training or.
yep. I think that'd be a
Video.
good idea. Just to make sure that the the heads of each department who are in charge of the records have, the most up-to-date information. So, which, will hopefully cut down on any accident, you don't want to accidentally destroy, so if you have the training, then that cuts back on that scenario probably happening. We obviously don't want to have happen.
Any other topic under other business? Do we set the date now, Martina?
I would go ahead and set a date now for our next meeting, and then if for some reason something comes up, you decide, oh, no, that's not going to work because of what's going on with the remodel, we can always reschedule if we need to, but I think it's probably good to go ahead and schedule it. That way we've got it.
So our first council meeting / mayor's court event will be January the 8th over at the rec center. So if we could do it anytime past that.
Could do, are we going to go back to mornings?
Do what?
Are we going to go back to mornings?
We can go whatever time. It was just today because of the Veterans Day
Do
ceremony.
you want to try for Tuesday, the 14th in the morning? Martina, how's that look for you?
January 14th, Friday. Let me double check. I don't think I have anything back here. January 14 looks good. You want to do, is it 9 o'clock? 9 o'clock?
Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Yeah. All right, with no other business, we will adjourn this meeting at 3:22.